Now we move to the third presentation. It will be online, presented by Barbara, Gabrella, Renzi. Do you hear me? Barbara?
Yeah, yes, hi.
Good.
Yeah, now I hear you. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Hello, yeah.
So get
Okay, I'll open up my PowerPoint. There is no sound. Okay. So I'll start with the first slide. So my name is Barbara, and I'm working at Macromedia University here in Germany, in Leipzig. I teach psychologist, but I'm a linguist. And today we're going to speak about Portocannone, and we're going to speak about the Albrecht d'Italia. So minority languages in Italy, a minority culture in Italy, and my work is based on ethnographic work, interviews, and a bit of phenomenology. So what I'll start saying is Merdita. So I am Bresh from my mother's side, but I grew up not in Portocannone but in Rome. And yeah, we used to go not very often, but then we started going more often to this village. And yes, this presentation is the result of the work carried out by my mom that I will show you later about myself. And later, yeah, thanks to the Cell Foundation, I went there and actually I recorded the Albrecht spoke in this little village, and I recorded the level A and B1. But yeah, and while recording the Albrecht, I also went through diary interview. I stayed there for a long time, and it was fantastic. Said that, I probably have to start saying what is this Albrecht because not everybody knows it. So, and what is this Albrecht? This Albrecht is a minority language, a minority culture, and maybe I should speak about minority languages, minority culture, because it is different from village to village, and we have it in the south of Italy. So we have, I don't know if you have, you imagine the Italian map. We have Calabria, Sicilia, Molise, Apulia, Campania, Basilicata, Abruzzo.
Professor Barbara, can I gently interrupt you for a while? Can you please put the full screen on your laptop?
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's one.
Apologies.
Second, the audience is interested in more details with regard to Albrecht. I mean, more.
My mom? Okay, sorry, this is the...
Barbara, sorry, you just said Albrecht. You did not explain that it is the diaspora language of Albanian.
Yeah.
You didn't pronounce the word Albanian.
I'm doing now, yeah. I think the first, okay, this is the full screen, yeah. I'm doing now, and so I'm going to speak about this Albrecht. We cannot just speak about Albrecht languages like just one language, because it's spoken differently in different villages, and they come from Albania and what is now Kosovo. They immigrated there between the 15th and the 18th centuries. So they have slightly different, they speak slightly differently, but they understand each other. And so that's, and it's spoken in various regions. I don't know if you heard me before, in various regions of Italy: Calabria, Sicilia, Molise, Apulia, Campania, Basilicata, and Abruzzo. What's going on with this Albrecht? It's going on that some community are losing their language. I'm going to speak today about Portocannone. Portocannone is in Molise, okay, so it's south of Italy. It's in Molise, in the Adriatic coast. And when you enter the village, you feel in a different, especially you feel in a different time. Public is very important because we have to understand the factors. We have to understand the reason why we see the decline of minority languages. Yeah, so if you can, languages survive for 5 centuries. Yeah, if you let me speak, I'll go there. Why? Because, excuse me, if you let go there. If you don't mind, it's very nice that you told me, but if you let me speak, I will go there slightly, okay? And so I was saying that their roots trace back to the 15th century when Albanian refugees escaping the Ottoman invasion settled in Italy. Okay, so and the languages in some villages, not in all, some villages are losing this language, and it's very interesting to go there because when you enter the village, so and you are in the main square of this village, you hear people speaking old Albanian. So there is Albanian spoken without the influences of the Turkish languages, but the influences of the dialects, not Italian, of the dialects surrounding the regions. So there is influences of, for example, of Neapolitan dialects, and so also the spoken language that we hear in Molise, okay, which is different from standard Italian. And in the square of the village, you find all these old people playing cards, making jokes, being funny with this black humor, speaking these old languages. And what about the new generations? So what can I say? Carry on this research that was ethnographic and was not just ethnographic. I worked with diaries, with songs and everything else. And I spoke with different people with many interviews. The new generations, and I call new in a euphemistic way, don't speak the languages. Not all of them, but many of them don't speak the languages. So if you are 50 years old, you don't speak the language, you understand it. Okay, not all of them, but let's say we have done a percentage, around 60% of the people understand the language and don't speak it. So I interviewed many of old generation, and actually have to say that some of them died the last years. So I just say Nicola Musacchio, who I interviewed, and his cousin Matteo, and his cousin Teresa, they all died. So at least 5 or 6 people I interviewed last year, they were in the 80s, died. And then I was speaking with the new generation where people are 60s, sometimes they speak both the old, they speak Abrash, so the Abrash is spoken in this village, which is a bit different from the Abrash spoken in other villages, but some of the people just understand the language, they don't speak it, and it's interesting enough when they have to speak about something very complex, they use Italian, they don't use the old their brush. And so I think that's very interesting. What factors are precipitating the decline of a minority language that has survived for 5 centuries, and why is addressing this phenomenon crucial? So we go on with, it's sort of a shift. No, it's not a shift there, and we are all shocked. Sorry? So you have to say that I'm sure that you all know that it's important to preserve a language for many reasons. Yeah, so, sorry, I think the PowerPoint is, if I do the mainstream, it's coming the presentation on the real PowerPoint, so I have to do off screen because it's coming myself. Stop share, I'll share differently, so I'll keep going on. Sorry about that, it's coming the screen, it's coming the registration. I'll go on without. So, what's going on there? What's going on? That everybody, when we speak about this preservation of the language and why the language, we are losing the language and everything else, we always speak about important factors, which are social, political factors, and that's true. So many of them immigrated to Rome, to Milan, and I have to say many of them studied, so are lawyers, some of them are something else, not just lawyers, but they're doctors, they have good jobs in many cities, so particularly in the north of Italy. And then we had the migration of people after the Second World War. They all went to US or Canada, and some of them came back, actually, they came back to the village. So why it's the language is not spoken anymore as it was in the past? But there are different reasons, and social-political reasons are there for sure. But I think it's not enough to focus on this social-political reason, although they are very important, because it's not something that I say myself, it's something that the old people of the village told me. So from the research, from reading their diaries, from speaking with the people, and so many interviews that I've done, the results are that the feelings are changing. So the feelings are changing. And so this is the significance of the research topic. The significance of this research topic is this appearance means a loss of richness, but if you don't understand why a language is appearing, if you just speak about the social-political dimension without speaking of the souls of the people, we don't understand this phenomenon fully. So what's going on? What is going on that we have nostalgia. So what the old people told me that we have the absence of we have the absence of nostalgia. The absence of nostalgia is what's the main reason that they see, or a reason that is connecting with everything else. So nostalgia is far from mere sentimentality. It's a tapestry of emotions and memory, okay? So when we understand this, we understand that nostalgia is like an emotional anchor, okay? It's something that emerged from the diaries, that nostalgia was what they helped these people, what they helped them, my mom, everybody, in this in this century, to maintain the language, to have the strength to face difficult situation and decision. So when they were facing difficult situation and decision, they went back to the old stories. You have to imagine, in the old times, they shared the stories in front of the fire, and they went there to the old stories, and they have this sense of belonging. They were connected to each other, and everything was reflecting the shared events and the memories. Okay, so nostalgia was a sort of a property of a shield. Imagine a shield, a warrior with a shield, and was grounding the individuals in their community. In fact, nowadays, if you go there, the word for child is different. When my mom was little, in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, practically the children of the village were called with a name that was meaning that they were the children of everybody. And now, and there was an Abresh word. Now they use a creature, which is a word which is not a Abresh, it means a little thing, little babies, little thing, but it doesn't mean that the child belongs to everybody. And if we go on, I'm sorry with the PowerPoint, it's going on something strange, so I'll do this thing that it's not working, the PowerPoint, I'm sorry, it's coming with the video, I don't know why. So if we look at the diaries of these people, and for example, of the old people that I was so lucky they gave me their diaries to read, and they say, for example, some of them had to migrate to Rome to work. And one of the diary this is the part in the thing, of a professor that became a teacher in Italy, and so she writes very beautifully, and she say, the air of Rome today feels, it's coming, I cannot go out of this screen, okay, we'll do this, and we'll do this, because it doesn't work in the full screen. So, one of these diary was saying, the air of Rome spirit feels heavy, laden with the weight of my thoughts. The city's ancient streets, rich of history and tales, they don't have anything to do with me. I feel lonely here because I'm far from my village. I feel lonely here because I'm far from my people. Every corner of these magnificent cities reminds me how much I've left behind, how much I need to learn and adapt to this new world. This is not my world. But I feel the strength of my people. I remember the words of my dear father, that who often whispered to me during time of despair. So I remember the old stories, and if I have to face this new challenge, I have the old stories, I have their strengths and the resilience within me, and I can go on. And that's why they pass on the languages, they pass on the stories to the children, because they felt like a people, they felt together. And the feeling of nostalgia, which is not just a feeling, it's something more, was unifying all the people, okay, was unifying all the people and was giving them strength. What's happening now? It's happening now that although we have economic pressure, social political change, and everything else, they feel that this cultural, this language shift, this cultural assimilation, technology, media, urbanization, demographic change have eroded the feeling of nostalgia. Nostalgia is not there anymore. And the importance of the old stories is not there anymore. So, yes, it's true that, for example, in the past, what I gathered from the interview, people who were not that rich, who struggled in their life, wanted their children to learn good Italian, so they could become doctors. But the Italian was just a means, a tool, to earn more, to be, to have no difficulty in life. The main language was Albrecht, and they talked to their children in Albrecht, and they said, but focus on school.
Barbara?
So,
You still have 3 minutes, please.
Sorry?
3 minutes left.
Sorry. But focus on school because you will become something else. But now, what's happening is that the children live, I was told that the children live in a different world. So the children don't recognize the world of their parents, and the parents don't recognize the world of their children. So when I asked in the village, I asked the people why our brush is dying, they say because we have preserved it for 500 years, but now we don't share the world with our children. We don't have the same world. We have a different identity, and so because there is no nostalgia, so we don't feel like teaching it. I don't feel like learning it. And what's very sad, it's a suicide. It's a suicide. Not everybody is feeling the same, but there is a part of the people who are feeling the same. So our branch in Portocannone is going to die soon, although there are all these other things that they do, they write books in our branch, it's taught in schools, but there is, what the old people told me, there is no nostalgia. They are not feeling, they don't have the same feeling, they don't live in the same world as we lived. And that's very sad. Okay, I'm finished now. So what I want to say that we have also to look at not just at social political factors, we have to look at the implication of social political factors, we have to look at the psyche, we have to look at the souls of the people, what they feel, because it's very important for the survival of the language, what they feel. And we have to intervene on the feelings, and the importance of the feelings should not be dismissed. And I feel sometimes we just speak up about social political factor and we don't speak about feelings. Sorry if I was too long, and sorry for the PowerPoint. I apologize. I worked before, I must have opened the wrong PowerPoint. Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you very much indeed. On the opposite, you spared us some few seconds. Thank you for this presentation. I again give the floor to Professor Salim to say some words. I insist.
Just Salam.
You keep and I insist.
No, it's very interesting because you could see the reason I asked Barbara to define Arabic, because she was just saying Arabic and then she said minority and then it's in Italy. Then we could have thought it was just a minority in Italy. Arabic is very special. Also, I take the advantage of the situation to tell you that the 25th conference, two before this one, of the Foundation for Endangered Languages was held in Tirana, which is the capital of Albania. And the title was Endangered Languages and Diaspora. And a great deal of the diaspora we were talking about was Arabic, because it's the homegrown diaspora. It's Albanian, and of course Kosovo and all the Albanian languages spoken outside Albania, natively, like Kosovo, in the diaspora, mainly in Italy. We heard earlier...
Yeah. So I wanted to say apologies if I didn't say straight away, but I wanted to say later on, and apologies if I didn't say something.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
I was focusing. I wanted to say later on. I wanted to build the thing.
Suspense. Yeah, it's okay. No,
yeah, suspense. Yeah.
I'm talking about something else now. Don't worry. No, we heard Sarit earlier talking about all the different Jewish languages. She spoke about Ladino. She spoke about Judeo-Arabic, Judeo-Berber. And what is the link, in fact, when we're talking about that? Most of those things now can qualify as diaspora. I mean, in fact, the word diaspora was first applied to the Jewish populations. Now it's universal. Now that, in a way, Hebrew has a homeland, all the other Jewish languages are in the diaspora. So it's in a way. However, when we're talking about why these minority languages, in that sense, like in this diaspora, whatever they talk, it's why diaspora is important, because of what she just said. It's the nostalgia. What is nostalgia? You leave your homeland, you go somewhere else, and then you forget everything. What keeps you going? Nostalgia from your homeland, from your culture. What we heard earlier about the theater in Israel, or the music of the Judeo-Moroccans, or the Moroccan Judeo-Berbers, or Judeo-Arabic. The music, it's nostalgia. That's what keeps it going. Even if it's not completely structured, but at least it keeps the sense of identity going always. Now, think of where we are now. I mean, Morocco. All the diasporas, I mean, the Tamazight spoken in France, in Germany. I'm not talking about Darija, but it's the same thing again, because Darija is spoken also elsewhere in outside Morocco or North Africa in general. And in fact, Paris is supposed to be the second Berber city in the world now, after I don't know which is the first. So nostalgia. Diaspora used to be you run away and you forget everything. That means the language and the culture die. But in fact, in diaspora, go back to an article I wrote 20 years ago, which is I called the emigration as the engine room for the revival of languages in that sense. So sometimes when they are threatened in their homelands, they go and prosper in the diaspora. So we have to remember them all the time. Those people who live in diaspora. Minority means nothing, because minority is just a who doesn't have any people. I mean, we're thinking about South Africa during apartheid. In fact, the minority were the black people, the African American, the black Africans who was used to that. Whereas the white minority had the majority control, and it's the same thing. So. Same thing. I mean, we have to keep in mind this nostalgia is just, I'm glad she used it, but it goes beyond. You can redefine it. Nostalgia sounds like folklore, but it's actually what drives somebody. It's a sense of identity. And when you have a sense of lost identity, that's when you strive to get it back. And if you're losing it, then she's right. Then there is a big threat of losing the language. But you can call it nostalgia because it's nice, but you can call it something else, identity or whatever. But I'll leave you to it. And thank you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you very much indeed for this reading of the presentation. Now I open the debate in case.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah. Barbara, do you have something to add? Please.
Yes. So I wanted to say that, I used the sense of nostalgia, and in a different paper, I just say, for example, that I used when the first Albanians arrived to Italy after to migrate. And this was in this century, so the last migration from Albania to Italy, they came on these big boats, and it was amazing to see the difference between the new and old generations, because when I saw my mom or other looking at these boats, and you can see that also online in some comments, when they say that the diaspora is starting again, and these are the brothers and sisters who are coming to Italy again, and we have to embrace them. So it was really this diaspora things coming, and I was not speaking about just feeling. I was feeling something deeper, because I see the difference between my mom and myself. That I grew up in Rome. I didn't grow up in the village, and the strength that she had when was facing the difficulty was different from mine. So we have these two examples. The first example you can find when you read comments. There is a comment about Silvana Cursi, who sings brush songs, and it's the same comments that I had from my mom or from my grandfathers when these people were coming. And they were speaking really about the diaspora again, starting again. We have to embrace brothers and sisters. So there is this sense of the people, and yes, they were making them strong. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you very much. Professor Karat?
Thank you, Barbara, for actually very enlightening presentation. I just want to comment on the term nostalgia you have used, but I think that for diaspora, actually, what makes them feel strong about their language or identity, or language is through identity, is the fact of being, they have, for identity construction, there is the self and the other. It's the presence of the other, because you're in a context where you are among people who are different from you, that you feel your identity more than you do feel it when you are in your home country. Nostalgia, I rather look at it from the perspective of the self and the other. And of course, we see this not only with respect to language, but this is something we see for instance, I can speak about Moroccans who live abroad. And I see this from, for instance, my children live abroad, so they feel really very, very strong about their Moroccan identity because they are abroad, and they see it in relation to the other, because actually they don't want this to get assimilated or to claim the other identity, because that's what will lead to assimilation. So what you call nostalgia, I myself, there is nostalgia actually. There is this feeling of nostalgia. But what actually leads to this feeling of nostalgia is the context the person is in. And this is the context of, I am in a context where I am actually faced with other people with whom I don't share much. And I need to really, in order to maintain... Reconnect. Yes, you try to reconnect to your identity and so on. And of course, you refer to it, and it leads to nostalgia.
Thank you for the comment. May I answer? I just find it to... Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the comment, and I think you are perfectly right. And the self on the other in psychology is, without the other, we cannot define ourselves. So that's why children that lived without other people around don't grow up to be, let's say, well-adjusted adults. So the fact of the self for the other. I have to say that I hadn't time to define nostalgia as I wanted. In the paper you find that it's far from mere sentimentality, and in a different paper that I might share, if you want, it's going on in a book. I speak about 3 types of nostalgia: nostalgia of the past, nostalgia of the present, and nostalgia of the future. So I defined it this way, and I connected them with identity as well. And so it's really far from a sentimentality. It's connected to who you are and your roots. Because the thing that I used to hear when I was a child, and I don't hear anymore, it's if you don't know who you are, you cannot become who you are. That's what the people of the teaching of the people of this branch told me. If you don't know who you are, you're not becoming who you are already, which sounds like a philosophical Jung, but it's coming from the village, it's coming from there. And I think it's connecting what you said. I find it a very interesting comment. I find it fantastic the way in which was looked at the table.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. You still have one more question or comment?
Well, for the presentation, I thank you very much. It was very insightful, Ms. Barbara. Just for the idea that I wanted to share, Professor Salam already mentioned part of it, but I think that nostalgia is not really the only factor that makes people want to go back to their roots and to their mother language and their native lands, but also their culture and their identity and their sense of belonging, especially when they are immigrating abroad. They feel this alienation and estrangement that makes them want to go back to their roots. So I think that even if people go to other cultures and accommodate other cultures or even assimilate them, they still find themselves in a sense of in-betweenness between their culture, their mother culture, and the culture that they were exposed to. That's why people always tend to go back to their roots, and what drives them to go back to their roots is that their sense of identity is very strong, that it makes them want to go back to where they belong.
Thank you very much indeed. Barbara, you have something to say about the comment?
Yeah, I think it's very insightful, but I have to say that sometimes we have the other factor that we don't want to go back to our roots, Yeah, there is this other usually when you study languages, you see lots of people who migrate that keep their strong accent, because they wanted to say, no, I'm from here, but there are some people who actually don't want that, and we have to see the feelings. Yeah, I think it's always important. Yeah, social political factor fundamental, but it's always important to go and to see the psyche of the person, the feelings that are there, what's going on there, and I find it's. I'm actually living in Germany now, and I was living in the UK, and I see what's going on with my son. Yeah, so.
Thank you, Barbara. You still have one more question? No. So with this,
Can I make a small comment?
yeah, please.
Yeah, sorry. No, it's just that it's nostalgia. Nostalgia, I said, it's not. Yeah, sorry. I said about nostalgia, we shouldn't take it as sort of a kind of folklore in a way. It's in the 19th century, the Romantic poets used to call it melancholy or melancholia or anything. But that's not really important. Remember what Sarit said something really interesting earlier, which many of you may have heard. She said if Jewish diaspora stayed in their place, they may have lost their language. That is, in the case of the Jewish language, it's a reverse diaspora because they went back to Israel to regain the Judeo languages which they were losing, in fact, facing two things. But what Fakhruddin was talking about was a multi-stakeholder effort to save the languages. And we think of North African diasporas. I mean, I mentioned the Tamazight, for instance, or in Darija in Europe. And what are the multi-stakeholders? There's first of all the community, and then the state, the French state when they're in France or the Belgian or whatever, and then the representative of their home countries. What did for instance, I'm not going to talk about Morocco, I'm not quite sure, but in Algeria, for instance, the embassy had a service which is to make the diaspora children relocate, or not relocate, sorry, go back to their roots. And what do? They teach them classical Arabic. And that's the effort that the representative of the Algerian government has deployed in order to cater for the diaspora and things. So in this case, not only have they left it, but they're pursued even in their country or host country to continue to lose it. So the multi-stakeholder thing that Fakhruddin was talking about has to come from us. Probably nostalgia. It's a nice word, but you know what, as I said earlier, it's the identity and all that. Just to finish, next year's conference is in Pakistan. Fakhruddin is one of the organizers, and we're all invited then, of course, and then we can continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. This brings, yeah, please, applause. This brings Barbara's presentation.